All right, tremendous challenge for us this week as we go on the road versus Miami, coming off a bye week. A very talented team, as I'm sure you all have seen. They really good on both sides of the ball, skilled players, defensive linemen, two linebackers that seem like they've been playing for a long, long time. We'll have to have a great week of preparation as we prepare to go on the road. Fire away. I'm sure you got a lot of questions.
Get your microphones.
I didn't get a chance, but Terrell Smith, is he going to be out for the year now?
Yes.
And at quarterback, what's kind of the plan here? I mean, are you going to go back with Ryan? Are you evaluating things? What's the plan
Yeah,
for
we'll
Miami?
continue to evaluate all those things as we go through this week. Yeah, it's unfortunate for Terrell, but it's a pretty significant. I believe it's his patella tendon, so he'll have surgery here coming up within the next day or so.
And what are you looking? So you'll name a starter at quarterback later in the week. What are you looking for this week to kind of determine what you guys are going to do next?
Well, we've got to find a way to be more efficient. We've got to be more productive. So those, it starts with those guys. It involves everybody, but it's kind of the same thing we've talked about, 10 years ago or 15 years ago, coaching quarterbacks. Is you got to have predicted outcomes. I've got to execute the play called and distribute the ball to the correct place.
You talked a couple years ago about your early days at Memphis when you were doing the play calling and kind of using that because you knew there were tough days ahead and kind of as a shield in that sense. With the current struggles, do you have a need or feel any desire to be more involved in the play calling? Or now that you've delegated that, do you not feel a need to go back?
No, that's not what's needed. I mean, we evaluate all those things, but I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that think that they know the answers, and they're right. But being inside of it every single day, that's not the answer.
What do you think the need is?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of them. I mean, we've got to find a way to play a more efficient game. And it's really collectively as a football team. You look at that game last week. In no area were we consistent. Were we able to execute on a consistent basis in any of the three phases? And that's very disappointing. And that's my responsibility, 100%. So we've got to find a way to get that across. We've got to be tough enough mentally, emotionally, and physically to go execute at a high level in all three phases of the game on a consistent basis, regardless of circumstance.
I know you don't want to overreact to one game, but with the struggles kind of going back to last season in the ACC, can you afford to make incremental changes? Do you have to do larger? And what can you do in 1 week? When you said nothing was working well, like how do you kind of change things in just 1 week here to kind of get going?
Well, you can't. I mean, you can't wholesale. It just doesn't work that way. You got to continue to improve and focus on technique. Surely you can tweak things, absolutely, but I mean, you can't. It just doesn't work that way.
You talk about tweaking things, and I can't imagine what it must have been like when you turned on film yesterday and figured, there's going to be a list of 20 things that we need to focus on for this coming week coming out of this game. Was there something that jumped out to you that's the thing that needs to get fixed right now because we can't move forward with this? So I looked at the way the team reacted after you guys fumbled and Duke scored, and it looked like the air went out of the balloon.
Yeah, it's pretty disappointing from that standpoint. I mean, we talked about that as a team, and I'm not going to get into everything we talked about, but we certainly have to be mentally and emotionally tough enough to respond. And there's going to be bad things happen. It's just the way it is. And we collectively didn't do a good job responding from that event. And, that's disappointing, and that's my responsibility. So that would be the first thing on the list.
Have you ever kind of used the quarterback rotation like you used in the last game, and kind of moving forward, is that something you'd consider to keep doing, or would you like to settle on one guy?
I would say that all things are open to be considered right now. No, I don't. I can't recall a time. I may be mistaken, but I can't recall a time we've really rotated guys. I'm sure it's happened at some point through my career, but it's not usually the normal way that we operate. But it is what it is.
You played on Friday, and you guys typically have your Sunday practice after a Saturday game. Do you do something on Saturday, or do you just tell the guys to kind of get away from it and maybe put it out of their mind? For a
No,
day?
we had to give them a day off during the week, so we gave them Saturday off. But we did more yesterday, so that was kind of the way we approached it. We had a much more real practice, I guess you would say, as opposed to the day after the game yesterday.
Coach, do you guys do anything as a coaching staff different after a bigger loss to motivate your players than you would on after a normal loss? And if so, what are those things?
Well, I don't know. All the losses hurt the same. Try and teach and correct and coach. Give reasons for, well, first of all, I would say backtracking. We would evaluate what we had going in, why things did or didn't work, same way we would do after a victory. And we teach that to the kids. I mean, obviously there's a tremendous amount of work that needs to be done after something like that, or any other time. I mean, it's not like we won we won a couple games too, and it wasn't a dominating performance by any means either. So it's not like everybody's just been walking around with a smile on their face, whether you won or lost. It's about the performance and the improvement. So that's been our focus.
Is Ryan's confidence shaken a little bit? Do you get a sense at all? I mean, he kind of had, that mentality early, but, it didn't seem to be himself. I mean, is that the injuries? I mean, what do you kind of sense from him after kind of, just doesn't seem like he was, last year when he was kind of going at a better pace?
I don't know. The term confidence, we talked about this the other day in staff. I mean, you get that from doing the right thing over and over again. You can't give it to somebody. You can show them how to earn it, I think. But in my opinion, you get that through repeating the correct performance or the correct execution time after time after time. So he knows he's done it before. He knows he can do it again. It's a matter of buckling down and finding a way to do it on a more consistent basis.
Coach, in a season with a couple of games that have obviously not met Virginia Tech expectations, do you feel that the coaching staff has a bigger job in keeping the players motivated on a team that's particularly young with a very small amount of senior leadership?
Well, I think we have a lot of what was the term you used? Do we have a bigger role? Is that what you said? Yeah, I think we do have a huge role with our guys. But we would have that role if things were going really well too. But we have to continue to do a great job with our young guys. I don't know if motivated is the right word or the wrong word, but focused in on the opportunities that lie in front of us and what we can and where we can improve and how much better we can be.
With the offensive line, is Zachariah Hoyt still injured? Is he somebody you want to get back in the lineup? I mean, I know he dressed again, but is that a place where you could see going back to him if he's healthy? And what's kind of the plan going forward with the offensive line?
Well, we'll see. He's got to be healthy first. He practiced a little bit yesterday, and was better. So, I mean, there's no reason for me to get into it until he's healthy and fully able to go. So, when that happens, then we'll worry about who's going in there. But I've been really impressed with Brian for true freshman to come in and certainly has a lot of work to do, but to be as competitive and as hard-nosed as he's been in a short time playing center, that's been a good spot of it. But we'll figure it out when Zach comes back. Zach's worked at guard as well, so when he gets back healthy, then we'll figure out where he needs to go or what we need to do.
What was your eval on how Hazleton came out of that game? He had the illegal block and the long touchdown, I guess, when the game was starting to get a little out of reach. But did he come out okay on Sunday with the hamstring? Or
Oh, health-wise, yeah, he's fine.
all
Or he
across the
was
board?
fine after the game. He just needs some more work. I think that'd be the biggest thing for Damon. He just hasn't practiced a whole lot. Not just for conditioning, but he needs work versus good people. So
With Hendon, he attempted his first two career passes. I mean, are you comfortable with him if he's the quarterback doing everything that you guys do with the passing game? Because he hasn't shown a lot, doesn't have a lot of experience. But where is he at in terms of that part of the game?
I feel good. He's taken a whole bunch of reps in the last several years. So.
Anybody else for Coach? All right, we'll have
All right.
coaches and student athletes tomorrow after practice.